have got us transitioned over into on Facebook, and I'm going to get us started.
I'm trying
So,
to log in to a laptop right quick because this
okay,
stuttering.
okay, that's cool. So when you transition, it'll let me know, and I'll bring you right on in.
Okay.
So I want to welcome everybody to another anti-Black conversation. My name is Tony McNeil. I'm the founder and facilitator of the space that has been created in order for us to have transformative conversation surrounding just us as a community, how we process information, how we see ourselves as a people, and how we're impacted by different issues that we deal with. It is to help us to look at things from a clear perspective, how white supremacy, how racism, and how anti-Blackness actually influence us in our thinking and our processing when it comes to things that we find ourselves faced with. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to ask each of you that are going to be on the panel discussion today. I've linked you guys in. I've shared this on your I've shared or tagged you on your social media pages, and so you can share the conversation on your pages. What I am asking as you're using your mobile devices, that you bring the volume down so that when you're engaging and talking, that we don't have the feedback from your mobile devices. And let me know if there is any other handle or anything that I need to tag you in before we get started, because we're going to dive in here with some introductions. So let me know when y'all ready. Let me have you come off of mute, Sean. There you go.
Okay, so I'm almost here trying to tap in.
So Sean, you're good. As soon as you get transitioned, I'll bring you right back in. While you're doing that, I'll have you introduce yourself after you'll be the last one. So I want to just kind of go around and do a round of introductions. This is a series on the prison industrial complex, and so we've had a series of conversations. This conversation today is centered around what society or what the term is called is recidivism, and that has to do with those that are repeat offenders. And now I'm using legal terms and all of that, but we're going to break down the blah 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 of all of that. It's the revolving door. It's going in and out, in and out, in and out of the system. And so I've intentionally asked and invited you gentlemen on today in order to help break down the blah, blah, blah of recidivism, the revolving door, how an individual can actually serve almost a life sentence surrounding recidivism, and from the prison industrial complex, and the revolving door. Good morning, but not consecutive term. So I'm going to have us go around first and introduce ourselves. Oh, I see Santa Claus. So let's start with Isaiah. Isaiah, introduce yourself. And in your introduction, can you let us know just who you are, whatever it is that you want to share as far as introducing yourself. But in that, can you also let us know how much time you served? And how old were you? What was your first age encounter when it came to the prison industrial complex?
Yeah, I'm Isaiah Battle. I'm from Stockton, California. Raised in all my life. I'm a youth mentor for an organization called Friends Outside that deals with youth and impact before they get to the system and after, and keeping families together. While incarceration. But I believe it was off and on. So from the age of 12 to 24 was just off and on throughout the system, juvenile hall, county jail, and the prison system. But my first encounter was I was 12 years old for a home invasion. So yeah.
Oh, 12 years old. So your first encounter was juvenile hall?
Yes.
Okay. right. Thank you. And thank you for joining us today. James, can you introduce yourself, please?
Let me unmute. Am I unmuted?
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right. All right. My name is James Smith, and from Menlo Park, California. Reside here in Stockton, by way of Inglewood, California. I've given the system 20 years of my life, off and on, not straight through. I am a concrete team leader, time done, Northern California member, affiliated with Advanced Peace, and a business owner.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. And so we're going to dig, much deeper, of course, but I appreciate you taking the time and joining us today. Let me see. Lamont, I take privileges. I'm going to call you Lamont.
Can you hear me? So how y'all doing? My name Marcus Woods. I started my own organization after doing 17 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit in California. I started early, about eight. I think that was the first time I ever went to Los Padrinos juvenile hall, and I went to prison on this at 17. It's kind of I want to say a lot, but I won't say a lot yet. But I mean, the correlation between the prison industrial complex and what we see today. I'm gonna just give a quick example, and then we can, divulge into it later if we choose. But I mean, if we understand how cowboys work back in the days when they shot people in the back for running, we actually see that today in our communities. If you run, if you don't do what we say, we're gonna shoot you, and you're gonna die, and from slavery times to now, I think that's no different than somebody pulling a whip across my back today, and I think I'll leave it at that.
Lamont, thank you for being with us today. And thank you just for being open to share. I really appreciate it. Let me see. Tim, come on camera, Santa Claus. Let me see you. Let me see you.
Yo,
I feel so super loved by y'all. I promise you. The fact that
can y'all save me for last? Save me for last.
Yes, I will.
All right, I'll be right back.
Okay. I promise you, when I tell you that I feel loved, okay. I feel loved and super spoiled because folks just will show up for me. So let me see. Tariq, good morning. Thank you for letting me wake you up and pull on you this morning. You got some coffee?
Good morning, Soul Sister Tony. Yeah, you did wake me up, and it was good. It's good to wake up to you, though, and this opportunity to speak before the people. My name is William Palmer. I did 31 years in California prison system from the age of 17 to 48. Then in that time, people knew me as Tark, which means bright, piercing star, when I became a Muslim in 1992. And I've been trying to live up to that name and that quality ever since. I am an artivist. That means I use my art as an activist apparatus to bring positivity to myself, my people, my community, and the world at that. And I'm an abolitionist. I belong to the Abolish Slavery National Network. We are a national movement to organize states to create legislation, to put a ballot measure or legislation before the people to remove slavery and voluntary servitude from the constitutions of our states as well as our federal government. We have already inspired Congress to issue a declaration to do that in the next coming cycle. So I'm very, very proud of that. And I'm leading the California Coalition in doing that here in California. I'm also a community organizer fellow for All of Us Are None, based in Oakland, California. We have a new show coming out this next year called One Community, One Mic. So I hope to see all of y'all on there, because we're going to be talking about some abolishing involuntary servitude and how we use our words to empower and not to destroy our community. And last but not least, because I live in San Francisco, I had just been appointed to the San Francisco Sentencing Commission, where I report to the mayor, the attorney, the district attorney's office, and the sheriffs and the police, and so on and so forth, the parole and probation departments, which for hearing that coming from me is amazing, because I was on the other end of all of that weaponized construct, and now I have a seat at the table to make sure that no more Billy Palmers at 17 years old goes to prison for life for a simple robbery. And having said that, I'm in the process of releasing one of our soldiers who have been in prison for over 47 years for a crime he did not commit. His name is Larry Green, known as Mujahid, associated with the Zebra Killers. This is my main mission as the San Francisco Sentencing Commissioner, to get him out of prison. And my theory is this: if we can put Malcolm X on a stamp, then we can release the soldiers that followed him.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you hopping on and all the work that is being done, not just with you, but with all of you, because all of you are doing some remarkable work in the community. And so, we'll dig into just a little bit of that as we're diving into deeper conversation. So you just gonna make me call you Black Diamond this morning, huh?
Yes.
I'm so glad that you have no control over my label. This man keep trying to change my name. This is my brother for real. I was like, okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yourself.
All right. Top of the morning, everyone. I am Shine Gage, also known as Raheem, also known as the Black Diamond. I am my brothers and sisters keeper. I am also Man Up, or Mr. Man Up, which stands for making rational decisions, acting with precision, never giving up my position, uplifting myself, my family, my community, and positive living. Tariq, I heard you say last but not least, but I'm going to say to you, stand up.
Man up.
All right, let's get some. Okay, so, like I said, I'm my brothers and sisters keeper, man. So everything that has to be done and working with the community, with men, women, our youth, I'm a part of. I'm a community interventionist. I'm a mentor. I'm a spoken word inspirationalist. I'm a public speaker, a positive speaker. I have a campaign I call Love Over Hate campaign. So everything we pushing is for forward progress, and each and everything that each one of you are doing, we support. If we are part of, man, and we moving forward. I'm here to be my brother's keeper, man. And that's what I'm here for. And I expect each one of you to be my keeper. I have a million accountability partners, and I expect you guys to be mine. I'm gonna be yours as well. And also my sister, the Black Moon, and a bunch of other names I've been calling her lately. Things I do, I come up with names based on characters and things like that. So I'm woke. I fell back asleep, but we on. Let's get it.
Lord have mercy. Yes, we working on my name. I'm not quite sure, but we working on it. Yes, sir.
I'm woke. Here we go. Right. So also, I heard the brothers speak about where they come from and how they end up to this journey where they're at. I'm originally from Oakland, California. Now I'm in Stockton by way of the system deciding that I shouldn't be in the Bay Area. Period. I got out. I was banned from Alameda County, Contra Costa County, and San Francisco County. I don't know who they thought I was, but I mean, I called myself, when I left the streets at 18 years old, I was a thugged out human vampire. You know what I mean? I come back and they told me I was something that I'm definitely not, but I'm definitely greater than whatever it was they could have labeled me as. So by way of our creator using the system to help me change, to bring me to another state. I'm in Stockton, California as well. Served 27 years. And through that time, the transformations began. You know what I mean? So we here now. I'm looking forward to digging off into what we're going into. All right, I think I'm done, y'all. I can't.
Yes, look, they can. So I am surrounded also by the person is probably most quiet is Isaiah in this space. And Marcus with his stuff, he gonna come in and out. There he comes back in. But here's what I want to do. So the primary individuals that we're going to be hearing from today is going to be Isaiah, James, Tim, and Marcus. Tim is multitasking. Y'all seen him in a Santa Claus suit. So when he comes back on camera, we'll make sure that he gets to tap in. Tariq and Sean, look, you see me being resistant. So Tariq and Sean, they're going to help me moderate today's conversation. And so they're going to be, they put together even some of the questions in order to get us moving along. So 12 years old, Isaiah, was your first touch. James, how old were you when you first went in? What was your first touch with either juvenile hall, with either system at all?
Yeah, I'm glad I was lucky to miss juvenile hall, but I hit penitentiary at 18.
Okay. So 12, 18. Marcus?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your first touch, sweetheart?
8. I went to juvenile hall at 8 years old.
At 8 years old. Okay. So my first question is, Isaiah, James, Marcus, and I didn't ask you this in a prep, but I'm going to ask you now. You can or can't answer. What's the first male role model in your lives? Did they have a touch or an encounter with the penal system? Zay, start with you.
Yeah, actually, it was CYA. That was a big factor. Of just knowing, of that whole system as a whole. And it just even hearing that it was even worse than prison. But it was at that point, that I was, hearing of, CYA, and for those that don't know, it's California Youth Authority, and that was my first conversations, and even, seeing relatives be a part of that system.
Okay. So did you have any male role models that were influencing you outside of the system, Isaiah?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't believe so.
Okay. What about you, James?
My first actual male role model never did any prison time, which was my grandfather, on who I'm named after. He did a bunch of military time, but streetwise, my actual real male role model, can't put a face to it. That was it was a bunch of different hymns. I was in them streets. I mean, I tried to. It was a bunch of them that was really their coaches, like Aaron Johnson, rest in peace. A few of those that coached and everything, but I was so married to the game that immediate right now, the glitz and glamour of the right now was the thing. Like from start gang banging at 7 years old to shooting my first person at 7.5, it really took a different toll on me to where it was like, this is what it is, and this is what it's supposed to be. Because at that time in them ages on Figueroa, I mean, we cops and robbers, you having rock fights, this you did, and it was always some type of war type of situation, and just elapsed into that as you got older, and then all of that came about. So didn't really get a chance to really have that role model in a positive sense to really just hold to have that hold to pull me away from what it was right there.
Would you have known that you needed it, James, or Isaiah, at 7 or 12? Did you know that you needed an example or a role model of a different kind or a different type?
Me, myself, personally, I would say I didn't, for the simple fact that I never had my father in the house with me. So I never knew what that looked like. And then as in growing up and playing and excelling in every sport that I played in, you would think I had a male in the house by how good I was with that. The fighting, the everything, you would think that I was being taught. It was something in me that just had me doing that. So to recognize it, no.
I want to acknowledge right from the top, and then I see you, Isaiah, that that this conversation is going to be tender, for sure. When I say tender, I'm not talking about tender like all soft, squishy. I'm talking about tender flesh around areas that have wounds and stuff. So when you press, it may hurt a little bit, and different people respond to pain differently. But if we don't touch those areas in dialogue, if we don't dive in, in the way that we do, then we don't get to really fully understand, and we'll stay stuck in a false narrative that has been created by layers of anti-Blackness and white supremacy. So Zay, go ahead. What were you going to say, sweetie?
To your question, I don't think. What was the question again? I had it.
Did you think, or did you even know at 12 or 7 or 8 or 9 that you lacked a male role model or needed a male role model? Were you cognizant of the fact that you needed that in your life or desired it?
Well, I would actually have to say no. I'm not sure I was even aware of what that was at that time. And growing now, it was just like kind of normal to just pick up or just see any kind of behaviors from anybody that I was involved in outside of just my mom or grandma, but like every day, people that you see as far as your friends outside, the big homie on the block, or uncles and cousins, like that's your first immediate awareness of what's going on, and you hear conversation. So it was pretty normal to express that. So at that age, it's normal to hear what James is doing, what Isaiah is doing, and I'm looking at James and see what he's doing, and wondering what's this red rag or what's this blue rag that he has, and hearing small stories of James interacting with a beef he had up the street, and just listening to that and going back to my friends and sharing stories of, oh yeah, my cousin or my uncle had this red rag, or my uncle said that he was the one that did this shooting up the block, or just and just living in that day by day, week by week, and eventually growing up to being surrounded in that, engulfed in that.
What about you, Lamont? When it comes to a male role,
question, please.
when it comes to a male role model, so first of all, did you have a father? Did you have a father figure? Everyone has a dad.
I don't even know what my father looks like, to be honest. If my father was standing in front of me, I wouldn't even be able to tell you that was my daddy. I have no vision of his face. Nobody. I look like my mom, so nobody can say, "Hey, you look like your dad." That's your dad right there. So I guess my grandmother was my mother and my father growing up, mostly. I mean, that's all I had really in the streets. The streets and my grandmother was all that I could say was, the closest to what a father figure should be.
So for me, that makes my heart, of course, extremely tender. As a mother, as a woman, as a parent, and plus because I call you son, so I love you and you're dear to my heart. Real talk.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you say that, I guess what I want to ask is, because I know gender-wise, we respond and react differently to certain things. How James, how Zay, how Marcus, and then Sean, I want to pull you in on this. Just however you feel led to ask or engage. How do you process that? Does that hurt? Are you angry? I mean, what does that look like? I'm going here for a reason. So start with you,
So,
Marcus.
so for me, I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I mean, I honestly could care less nowadays.
Okay.
I didn't even, it really wasn't. I mean, like I said, my grandmother in the streets was my father, so I didn't even have time to even think about it unless somebody asked me. But like I say, I don't know what he looks like, so how could I be mad at a missing face?
James, somebody put their finger up. I think it was.
Oh,
But let James go. Let James go.
oh yeah, no. I was just gonna piggyback off of Marcus at the same thing, even though it's a little bit different. I knew who my dad was and everything, but I never understood why I was as mad as I was and always fighting like I was fighting all the time. Like that was my peace. Like I have a poem that's written, it's called Peaceful Violence. That was my peace, getting down. That's what I love to do. And my thing was it's crazy because like I was speaking on earlier about all the sports and all the accolades with breaking records, doing all this stuff. I never had that time to really trip that my dad never seen me make a basket, score a touchdown, miss one, get an A or an F on anything. Never been on the bus, riding on trips, no, none of that. Now, bring your dad to school, none of that. I never tripped off of it for the simple fact that those peers, my friends, God brothers and all that stuff, their dads was at the games cheering me on. They called me son. So I never really got that chance to really understand that this cat wasn't there for me. You know what I mean? Until I was sitting up doing a shoe program in the pen, and it really hit me on why I was angry. I never knew why. People ask me all the time, and then that might spark something. I'm like, why is you asking me? So I want to get down with you. Why is you all up in my business? You know what I'm saying? They got newspapers for that. You want to find business, go get some business over there. But my thing was, I realized that I got all these other males, my homeboys, dads, and all that stuff called me son, and they at all the games, even when they sons wasn't playing, they at the games watching me. So it was then that I really realized that I've been mad all this time because my actual dad never got to see that. You know what I'm saying? And so I made amends on my last bid and wrote Dad a whole little get down and had told him, when I get out, the first thing we're going to do, Pops, no matter what season it is, we're going to go to a pro game. Whatever you don't understand, I'll break it down to you. And my whole thing was, every time I went back to Jersey, and I had a whole wall of me, all newspaper clippings and everything. My other brothers, they had a picture or two somewhere down in there, but it was all over there. But he's never been there with me. And so I wrote him, and I was like, my mom never spoke on you bad, never that. That's why I love you still, because you're the other part of the reason why I'm here. But at the same time, I'm grown past grown with kids and kids that have kids. And my only thing I want from you is this, and to let me hear you out your mouth say, son, I love you. I didn't get that chance for that part to happen because he passed away while I was gone. And the cold part about it is, when they found my dad, it was a card sitting on the corner of his bed written to me. He was finna send it out to me, but it never got a chance to get to me. So to this day, I'll never get that chance to say I love you. And that's why I endure that when I love you. Like, I don't just say it. Too many people say I love you and it don't mean nothing. So they taking the oomph out of it. But if I tell you I love you, believe me, I do. And that's where I leave with that. Well, but Marcus, he opened up that part on that with that. And I truly understand why he don't at 8 years old when he felt that you can't. There's no way for you to, you know what I mean? And I hate that whoever or however the situation is, somebody didn't at least let you see that face or whatever, you know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Sean.
Okay. First of all, I'm gonna say this. I vibe off of energies. Maybe each one of you brothers got powerful energies. I'm gonna say that first and foremost. The next thing I want to say is that I say, especially to our youth, but because of this situation we're at right now, I'm talking to each and every one of our inner man or inner child. I'm gonna tell you something that I tell the youth, right? I'm talking to your inner child as a man, and I'm telling each and one of you, including myself, that I'm sorry. For any man or any black man that has not stood up in your life and been there or abused you or misused you or allow you to be misguided, I am sorry. I'm that man standing up as a father, as an uncle, as a brother, as a role model and telling you I'm sorry. And this is something that I stress, and I would ask that you, when we talk to these youngsters, that we stress this to them because this is important. I stress it to myself as well. I had to tell myself I was sorry as a man dealing with my inner child. Now, going back to recognizing a role model, we couldn't. There's no way possible we could recognize whether we really needed a role model. There's no way possible, right? Life and our mind states aren't geared for that. However, our minds couldn't recognize it, but our natures recognized it, which is why we chose the soldiers that we chose in the game to follow. So our natures knew that we needed something to help us go towards their rites of passage. Our natures knew this. And in our very own DNA, it's inscribed in us to have a rites of passage. However, our rites of passage on American soil was something totally different, especially for those of us coming in the 80s and the 90s. There was a whole nother script designed for us. We can argue all day about how we made the choices that we made, but we were placed in a position where we only had few choices where we could look through to little Coke bottles. And when people outside of us say all the time, oh, well, you made a choice to do that. But if I can only see robbing, stealing, or selling drugs, I can't understand the concept of getting a job. I can't understand the concept of going to school, even though I'm going to school. Right? There's no way possible for me to do this because I'm looking through here. And my vision of success is something totally skewed. It's totally skewed, but my natures drive me towards something else. And another thing I want to say is that I personally believe that one of the reasons why men coming from where we come from are so successful and doing what we're doing and we're community driven is because, like Bob Marley said, many are called and few are chosen. Right. Each and every one of us were chosen. Now, what that journey entails, you and your creator know, and it manifests through your actions, right? But the reality is we were chosen and we had to take a journey so that many others wouldn't do it. And I'm sure on some stage or some platform that each and every one of us had made it clear, when I do this, so another youngster won't do this. Like Tariq said, so another Billy won't be raised. But on some stage, each and every one of us has said, I do this so another me won't come about. And now what I believe personally is that Allah or the creator has used Elder Tony, Soul Sister Tony, Black Moon as a vehicle to bring us together. Because one voice is one thing, but when you have multiple voices pushing, presenting, and inspiring in the same vein or the same lane, then we touch many. So we stop generations of us from being born. And this is why I believe we're so successful, because we went through it. And let me say one last thing, y'all. I'm woke now, so I'm on, right? One last thing on this concept, and my personal belief is that, and this is one of the things that Man Up espouses consistently, that we are the ones who set the landmines out there that them youngsters are walking on. We put them in place. We put them there. So we know where they are. Now, the people that put them in place for us, they were totally different from us. We're a whole different breed from the early 70s, the early 80s, and the late 90s. We're a whole nother breed. It's something totally different that happened with us. And this is part of that being chosen, right? But we put those landmines down, and so we are the ones who are capable and able to go and remove the landmines or walk them around the landmine. And this is where, when we come together and we have the black moons in our lives, right, who are able to help us take them to the next level. But we have to acknowledge first and foremost that we have that power. Okay, I'll stop for now. Go.
Oh no, you was on.
So what are some of the landmines? Let's name some of them.
Self-hate.
Okay, self-hate. All right.
Self-hate. Y'all go. Y'all jump in, because I'm gonna
Let's
go.
throw them out there. What are some of the landmines that have been put
Anger.
out there?
Misplaced anger.
Incarceration.
What you say, Isaiah? Incarceration is the land. Incarceration is not so much as the landmine, but it's a result of stepping on a landmine.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Wait.
Right.
So now, because what you're doing, this is where I live. So you are breaking down the blah 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 for real. So we're distinguishing the difference between what a landmine is. I call it a trigger, and what the consequence of a landmine being triggered is. And so we're saying self-hate.
It's anger.
It's
Anger.
Emotional
It's
thinking. Emotional thinking.
Emotional
Lack-
thinking.
That's the biggest
Lack of
landmine that we
compassion.
have.
lack of
Okay.
compassion. Sure.
lack of compassion.
Lack of compassion.
Yeah, because we're taught
Lack of
out there
restoration.
you can't show. You don't cry. All that is a no. You will be preyed upon. So you tend to throw away what was taught in home on caring about, I love you, hugging you, and all that type of stuff. There's so many cats out here right now that say they just wish that they got a hug from their brother or they, you know what I'm saying, or their dad. But because it was taught and put in their head that no, men don't hug each other or this, that, and other, no, that's weak. If you shed a tear, that's weak. And I'll make sure my sons and them all know. No, these holes in your eyes is meant for tears. If it hurt bad enough, you go on and cry. Let somebody else mistake them tears for something else if they want to. That's the whole. It's a difference, and people it's thrown out there so much, and it's been thrown out there for so long. It's like even from grandmothers teaching their granddaughters and grandsons from way back when that was a part of the slavery out there that is embedded in them. So at this age now, they lose somebody, they don't even know how to cry because it's been told that you don't do that.
I mean, is it yes, give me 1 second. Is it Tarek? Yeah. Is it even, how can you cry when at some point, don't you just go numb? I mean, at some point, don't you, I feel like sometimes that I can Black Moon, I guess. So I'm just my heart, I feel like I'm just weeping, and sometimes I'm crying and weeping on behalf of those that can't, because it's just insurmountable pain that has taken place in our communities, and it's been going on for generations and generations and generations. And so at some point, I'm just wondering, do you just grow numb to it? Let me hit Tarek and then Sean.
Go ahead, Tarek.
One of the things that I learned at a late age in life that man up taught me was emotional thinking. All the decisions that I made growing up was based on my emotion and how I felt about something. And so if we feel that we need Nikes and we can't afford it, we taking them off your feet. If I feel that I need a car, my own apartment, and a fine ass chick on my side, that's what I'm gonna go get because I feel that that's what I need in order to be somebody among my peers. Another thing that we gave less importance to, if none, was integrity. Integrity is a landmine that many of us step on every day. And I didn't learn the benefit of integrity until I took Man Up. That was one of the most significant acquisitions that transitioned me from being incarcerated to being a prison freedom fighter and an advocacy for my own freedom. And once I learned to live in integrity, then I was able to show people that I not only deserve to be free, but they want to help me be free. And so when we look at our generation today with young men or sometimes even older men walking around with their ass out. That's how we learn to live, ass out. And the symbolism of that is so significant.
Right.
If you don't even know how to pull up your britches and walk with a certain dignity in life, what is your chances of really learning success? So many of the landmines that we also set is impregnated into our female counterparts, because every male, whether you're a boy or a man, every male, for the most part, I won't say every, but for the most part, makes decisions based off what his woman wants to see in him.
Yes, sir. Yes,
If the woman tells the man to change, change will come. If the women out there say, hey, brother man, pull your pants up because I don't like that, I guarantee you sales for belts and suspenders will rise.
So there is a significance. There is a significant amount of influence and impact that women and what it is that we speak out of our mouths and how. Oh God, you hurt my
By far.
Okay.
By far.
Yes, I know. Look, you see me. I'm like, okay, rein it in, rein it in.
Hey, look, hey, y'all got to forgive me when I'm on, right? But there's so much going through my head right now, right? Hey, one of the things I definitely want to touch on, this concept of crying, right? And the numbness in the crying. If a man doesn't cry, he's not a man, he's a beast, right? And I don't mean a beautiful like the African spiritual. I mean an animal. He's an animalistic state. Because crying, or as we know now, is a natural release, right? It's not just pain, it's also joy. But in that concrete jungle, right, and the things we endure, like the brother said, we were told, one of the things we talk about in Man Up is that when you hear man up, first thing you hear is suck it up, stop crying, be a man. That's how you take it, right? When we saying it, that's not what it means, right? It's about these rational decisions that we make and acting upon them and never letting them go, right? So we're taught to not cry, right? Be a man, and you see people do it to their sons today or to their grandsons today. Well, you don't cry, you're a boy. No, that's not. Let that boy cry. Yeah. Let that boy cry. And I'm sure each and every one of you have partners that you knew that were real humble, but when they cried, they was trying to whoop some ass. Can I say that?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So
it's
when they
concrete. It's concrete.
Hey, look, so I know every one of us had him. When he was calm, he was cool, he was in the hood, but he was cool, and he took some stuff. But once he cried, it was no stopping him. There was no stopping him, right? And that's that inner thing that we have inside of us, right? So these tears that we have, that we are told and taught to numb, right? When they come back to us now, again, which is what makes us so powerful now. I'm gonna keep coming back to that, which is why we're so powerful now, because we're able to cry, and we do cry, right? So that's one thing. Tapping into the other thing that Tariq brought up, and he's very good at this. I love this when he taps or he unites the sisters and the brothers in the struggle, right? Because one of the things that I used to say before I came home was that I was going to pay attention to my woman's intuition. Prior to prison, when my woman had she had a woman's intuition, baby, don't go out there. I'd go out there and it happened to me. My mother would say, baby, I think you should come home, or don't. Every time something would happen, right? So this is just that thing that's inside of us, innate, as a woman being our helpmeet or being part of that rib that we're taught, right? Is that we're connected. So like Tariq said, if our woman was to say, baby, I need you to, whatever it is, pull your pants up. Now we gonna make the faces and everything else, but best believe if this is our woman,
they gonna come up.
They coming up. And this is real. And not even just with our woman, with a sister.
Yeah, period.
With a sister that we respect, key word, right? With a sister that we respects, when she sees that thing in you and she goes to pull it out of you, again, we may make that face, but we're going to pull it out. And this is just the natural balance between man and woman. Again, hence Black Moon, right? We have this thing where we're naturally inclined towards one another. We're naturally inclined to build the best out of each other. I'm a diverse just woman I'm on right now, right? Is that when they talk about historically, they're talking about how the black woman or either the Muslim woman walks behind a man. Right? People look at it as subservient, as they're behind you. Now, for us as black men and black women, what people don't recognize is when that sister is walking behind you, she sees what you don't see. This is how she's able, when y'all pillow talk, she say, hey, babe, did you see such and such? Did you hear such and such? Right? She's able to hold you like nobody else can hold you. Like each and every, we can talk amongst brothers all day. We can break down and cry. But when you laying in bed with your woman and you break it down, she's the one that's going to hold you. And she holding you from behind. She holding you up from behind, right? I'm good. Go, Tariq, go.
Wait 1 second. I'm sorry. Only because Marcus, Lamont, son.
Yes, ma'am.
I haven't heard your voice in a minute. Isaiah, I haven't heard your voice. I need to make sure that I'm hearing your voices. And that
I'm all right. I was actually listening to the brother, like when he was saying about, you know, how we actually within the community tell each other, you know, crying isn't natural, you know, and he's right, actually, you know, if
Right.
and he kind of gave me a insight on self right now when he said, you know, a person that don't cry is a beast, you know, and I'm always telling myself that, you know, I don't like to shed tears in front of people, you know, I'll do it, you know, under my cover or behind closed doors somewhere, and it won't even be loud. It's just hard tears, you know, and it's mostly because of anger I may have, you know. I like I said, I didn't know my dad, but I don't know if I'd attribute that, you know, my anger and the problems I have to that, you know, but it's true. You know, we go out our way to be manly and prove what a man is, and you know, we get that from the women in our community. You know, if the women don't understand how, you know, as little boys, they teach us how to respect women. You guys are the ones that tell us, you know, this is what you need to do to get that woman you like. You know, we're learning that from you, not the males in our community. The males in our community are mostly teaching us, you know, the violent parts of life or how to protect ourselves and survive. You know, we learn about relationships and love and all that, you know, interaction from the women, you know, that we're around. I learned a lot about respect from my grandmother. I didn't learn it from no male first. You know, it came from a female. So, you know, we need to start understanding that, you know, while you have these kids in your house, if that man isn't in the house, you know, to sit and try to tell him everything that hurt you, and by that I mean, while you sitting here telling your son how, you know, how messed up men are, or how much of a dog he is, you're teaching your son, you know, how to be just that. You know, you're telling him that that is what a man is, and that's what men do to the women in our community. So you're gonna get that from, you know, that child when he grows up, man. Whether you want to agree with that or not, it's the truth. Uh, Kids are recorders of everything we do within our communities, you know, and regardless of how we want to portray it through words, they see everything we do, whether they mimic it or not. You know, it might be somebody next to them that mimic exactly what, you know, the kid next door might be watching you more than the kid in your house, you know, and that's the stuff that people don't really recognize. You know, we're not just teaching our own kids, we're teaching everybody that's surrounded by that kid. When that kid has friends coming in your yard, you know, everything you guys are doing within that yard, them kids either taking home or they doing in your yard, you know, as well. You know, they're staying there in your spot comfortably doing the things that they wouldn't do at home. You know, so I think and I said a lot in that in just those few words, but I mean, I think it's time for us to understand that, you know, regardless, contrary to popular belief, you know, we have to start understanding that, you know, a lot of the things that we get in our community, you know, whether it's fights, wars, you know, things that happen within our community, you know, I think the women need to start understanding that, you know, you can't always blame us for being, you know, the worst part, you know, of life in a community. You know, it's a lot of, you know, when you think about right now, I'm sitting in San Bernardino right now. My community center sits on the, you know, the blade basically, you know, and you know, most of the girls out here on the streets are being put out here by women. You know, it's not males that have these girls out here on this block. 40% of these girls out here are women. You know, they're the pimps, rather. You know, 40% of the pimps, you know, that's running around here are not male. And I think that's what the misconception of you know, how we grew up and how we should feel about ourselves as men. You know, people need to kind of open the door to thinking other than what popular belief is and, you know, what society taught them.
Yeah, you did. You dropped like 50 billion. It's like you just opened up a bag of stones and diamonds and just spilled them all out on the floor in your few words. One thing that I want to tap onto a couple of things. One is, yeah, I think that Sean, we have to. We would be remiss if we do not begin to explore having a conversation with other queens. Um, there needs to be queens and sisters and queens in the making. We have to have a real transformative conversation. I don't know whether or not I'm the one to lead that because I'm very hard when it comes to women. I'm hard on women. There's a very yeah, ask my daughters on that one. I believe that we need to take ownership of our words. And so, but there's brokenness and brokenness begets brokenness. You know what I'm saying? And so because there's so much brokenness that's taking place and disjunct, and we're so fragmented in our communities that we speak out of our pain. Tariq, right? We speak out of emotions and feelings. And in that, what we don't then, we spew out all of this stuff that's toxic and we're not very intentional about our words. So when I speak to James, I have to be intentional. I literally think before, pray before I call you and speak to you. With the concrete team, I am very selective and intentional with my words. When I speak to Lamont, I call him Lamont on purpose. His name is Marcus. Lamont is his middle name, but he's fond of Lamont when I speak it. So I speak to him there as a woman. I can't stay there. I got to move from there. But women, we're going to have some real conversation about how we speak to our men, speak to our sons, speak to our brothers, speak to those. We need to begin to speak those things that are not as though they were. Speak life, draw out from them what is within them, make demands on it. Last thing I'll say on that, I tell my son, I'm proud of you. Whether or not he is producing the fruit right now, I speak to the manifestation of what it is I believe I'm going to see in the long run. I'm not speaking to you now, I'm speaking to what you're becoming. So when he calls me, he's calling me to speak into his spirit man what he needs to hear in order to get where he needs to go. I'm going to pause there, stop there. And Isaiah, I'm gonna bounce it to you, let you just speak, and then Tariq, I know you done took some notes.
Yeah. You want to see it?
I receive more than I can actually get, but it's just my way of just taking it in to where, because it's also a learning curve as well. But just speaking to Sean, I just wanted to know, and just, for anybody out there, like, where does that stem from? Does that stem from a part of slavery or Western civilization to where, is weak to, be seen, or is a slave catcher, or, a mom or, a relative would just be like, show no sign of weakness, or, to continue to, do as master say, and show no weakness in that moment? And does that stems from, generation to generation, to where we know, even to now, at times I find myself, just telling my sons that, not necessarily my daughter, with women, it's different. I take it a different approach. Women is more emotionally. So dealing with my daughter, it takes a whole different learning curve, and I find myself challenging myself to, still apply that to my son as well, so where does that stem from, because I think that's valuable to actually even know, because, people of our community may not even know where that even started from.
Okay. So, we're gonna call it the Tree of Tears. We're gonna call it the Tree of Tears, right? The Tree of Tears actually is split. It's two roads on it, right? So it goes all the way back to our ancestors, right? Not so much as the part where we're taught that you can't cry, right? It's more so when to cry, more so when to cry, right? And in that, when we look historically at our ancestors, those that were actually the strongest, they cried, right? They cried. And one of my beliefs is that once we were kidnapped or tricked or sold or stolen, whatever you want to say happened to us, right? Once this is one of the things, the hidden things that were taken from us. We always hear about our names were changed, our religion was changed, our place was changed, our minds were changed, but you don't understand that, or we're not taught also that our emotions were changed as well, right? So Isaiah, going back to the slavery part of it, the whole thing was to break man, right? To break man. And in breaking man, you had to break every single part of him. Now, some people say Willie Lynch actually existed. There are those who say Willie Lynch didn't exist. I say in the argument, it doesn't matter whether he existed or he didn't exist, but the philosophies that's associated with him exist. Y'all follow me? Right? So in looking at what was done to us as a people, which a lot of times people now today say, man, that's slavery, man, that don't matter for nothing. This ties into what you're talking about, right? So we were taught when the master was trying to teach our fathers or grandfathers a lesson, and they would take our sisters and rape them in front of us. And then your father or the woman would tell you, boy, you better not cry, master gonna get you. This is being instilled in you. Right. This fear is being put in your DNA. And then vice versa, it goes for our women too, which is why, like Sister Tony said, she becomes so hard. This would be so hard because your man is watching you be raped, right? And then your man is castrated and hung for attempting to stand up for you. So again, in the same.
Can I throw something in there? Don't lose it, Sean. And because I know he's watching me, I need to make sure that I don't allow the monster in him of rage to be unleashed in the midst of that. So I need to control my countenance and my response and reaction too. Go ahead.
We even got pumped up, went to moving around. But what I'm going to with this tree, Isaiah, is that through all these little things that when people now say, man, slavery, man, that's way back then, that don't count, right? There's a reason why the Jews make sure the world knows every year what happened to them so that it will never happen again. This is why they do it, right? However, for some reason, we've been bamboozled and tricked and hoodwinked into saying, man, let's say that ain't got nothing to do with me. But the way you walk today, the way you eat today, the way you smile today, the way you fight today, the way you love today, all is tied in to the psychological effects of slavery, right? Now in this, I know I jumped for a minute, but I'm coming back to this tree. Now in this, everything that's happened to us during that time was meant to break you as man. Because as man, you're a natural leader. And this is one of the reasons why they came and got. They didn't just come get us because we were strong. I mean, America was built on us, on our blood, sweat, and mind you, we say it all the time, our tears. Our tears, right? So as time progressed, by the time it got to us, just like, which I know is a whole nother conversation, but just like the N-word, right? We were called the N-word to break us. But what we did, we took ownership of it. And once we took ownership of it, it became homeboy, loved one, brother, sister, right? This is the same thing that happened with our tears, right? These tears were taken and used against us. And throughout time, we just continue this path of taking it away from us, right? When I say take it away, I'm talking about we telling our youngsters, boy, you better not cry. Now, again, going back to the other side of the tree, when our youngsters cry, when our boys cry, it's not so much as you better not cry, it's what is he crying for?
Oh, yeah.
What is he crying for, right? Because if his feelings is hurt, I mean, he should cry. Because if he don't, that numbness sets in. You know what I mean?
And that rage.
That rage sets in. If he's insulted and he don't know how to tell you this, he just cries, and you tell him, boy, you better not cry. You tell him to hold this thing in, creating this numbness, right? If He's actually hurting and just don't know what it is or why it is. And you tell him don't cry instead of saying, why are you crying? And waiting to find out why he's crying. And you tell, okay, well, that's cry. But if he's crying because he hit his little sister and his sister hit him back, well, boy, you better not be crying. Understand what I'm saying? You follow me what I'm saying? So this is that tree, right? And that tree goes back to, it's not so much as don't cry, but it's when to cry. Me, myself, you ask my G babies, you ask my wife. I mean, Tariq can tell you, right? I cry at the drop of a hat, whether I'm happy. If I see James and Isaiah sitting back and y'all having a man moment, I cry because I see strength in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this is one of my gifts and my curse that I'm tapped into that, right? So these tears, man, brothers, I can't stress it enough. Release them. Release them. When you feel them, release them. One more thing, Tony. And when you're talking to these young men, let them know. Release them. But because we know what the streets are, they have to have a safe space to release them.
Good.
And we are the safe space. Okay, I'm done for now. Go. Did I answer, Isaiah? Isaiah, did I answer?
I say yeah.
So we're going to
Yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to hear wherever this vehicle is driving to, I just wanted to, to answer for whoever may be listening as well. So
Yes,
thank you. I appreciate it.
So we're gonna go to Tarek, and then I'm gonna redirect us into somewhere else. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So the first thing is, we all know, especially as African American boys, you talk about your mama, you might be missing a tooth afterwards, right? So women naturally to us is sacred. Now I'm gonna take that a step further, and this is no disrespect for my other brothers and sisters who practice a different way of life. But in Islam, we are told, the question was asked, who do we first honor? And the prophet said, your mother. Then who? Your mother. Then who? Your mother. Then who? Your father. So the mother has a 3 times more honorable station in life than even our own fathers. Sometimes that's hard to translate because many men are so abusive to our women. We try to figure out, where does this come from? And we've explained that throughout, conversations, and we'll take another hour or so to get into that. So the mother is the first teacher of a child. And I know how I feel about my scholars. I know how I feel about my teachers. We damn near worship them. We're advised by Allah to be careful not to worship of our teachers. So our mothers are almost set on a pedestal of being worshipped. And we are also told that paradise lies at the feet of our mothers, unless she is not upholding her motherly responsibilities. Having said that, when we talk about women walking behind men, we look at that like Black Diamond said, in a sense of inferiority. But what we are actually practicing is, if any danger is coming, it's going to hit us first before it hit her. So even when we practice walking on the side of the sidewalk where the cars are and the woman's in the inside, this is a sign of protection and love and devotion and honor. But in some way and somehow, I don't know if it's through rap music, gangster TV shows or what, but we have been taught now to look at that as, I can do it myself. And you're taking away our manhood. You're emasculating us. You're taking away our position given to us by divine order, and to protect you and to honor you and to make sure that you're safe and to feed you what you need in order to teach our child what they need. See, it is a cycle that is natural and has a divine order. And whenever we break outside of that cycle, then we have the dis-ease, the disease that we find in our community. Having said that, we are trying to teach how to stand up. When we teach our boys and our young men how to be, we're not teaching them to hunch their shoulders in front of master and not to cry. We need to teach them how to stand up, how to articulate, how to stand on their square and not fear death or any repercussions, because your third eye cannot be open if you fear the consequences of man of any hue, of any position in power. In order to open up your third eye, the only fear that you should have is the Creator, the fear that He has the power to discipline you if you ain't taking care of your responsibility. And now to bring this back into the revolving door of recidivism, teaching us about our relationships, whether they be romantic or business-wise, employer, brotherly, whatever, relationships and substance abuse. And substance abuse is sex, alcohol, drugs, money, I said sex already, so I have to be explicit, but these are substances as well that we abuse. So when we talk about the revolving door and teaching ourselves and our offspring, and I want to say one thing, I think the brother just, Isaiah, when his daughter was coming into the screen, giving him a hug, coming to see what daddy's doing, man, I yearn for that. I'm 50 years old and never had the ability to practice that, nor did I have that ability, as James said, with my father. Only it was me and my mother. You know what I'm saying? So the revolving door of recidivism is about learning how to be in all relationships as a woman and a man, not as males and not as boys and girls. And when our parents, when they in their right place, Man Up teaches this. When they are instilling these type of what we call them, a black diamond, with integrity, courage, and these attributes, right? When they're instilling these attributes of integrity, courage, responsibility, accountability, and the list goes on, they are teaching you how to transition from boyhood to manhood. Because once you perfect these things, once you instill these things into your life, you have made that transition out of childhood into adulthood. And so this helps us also to stop that revolving door of recidivism rate and whatnot. So I'll stop there.
So we are, go ahead, Lamont.
So I kind of want to piggyback on what he's saying right now. Basically, what from I'm gonna give it to you in a way that I know how to talk to those, on the yard, right? Basically, everything he's saying is, we've allowed people to bring the yard mindset to the streets, and that has become the acceptance of society, and whether it's violence, whether it's, what most people call messiness, whatever it is, we've learned how to manipulate each other. And that's where we need to educate and understand how, manipulation and what's been done to us, we've taken it to our communities, man, and we gotta get back to where respect was. It shouldn't be something that's earned, man. Respect is something that's, given from the time I step through your door. If I step through your door, it's not your time to sit here and judge me and say, who I am, what you think about me. You gonna respect me, when I shake your hand, man. It's no different than me being on that prison yard, man. That is something that was instilled in me before I went to prison, and to hear people say that, most things that I think or most things that I deal with are only because of the fact that I've been to prison. You have to understand that before I went to prison, a lot of this stuff was happening. It wasn't just, in 1995, Marcus witnessed and seen people, doing things that they probably shouldn't have done. People are cognitive of everything that's going on in our communities, man, and we have to be the ones that stop it, and I think that's basically where I wanted to go with piggybacking on his stuff is, we allow the mindsets of not understanding what it is to be incarcerated, man, because we don't correlate it to the fact that, out here on these streets is the only thing different between me being in prison, if I was in prison today, and me being on the streets as I am, is the fact that, the police walk around with guns on their hip every day. On them yards, they're not shooting me in my back every day. They're not giving me, these authoritative languages and things and telling me what I have to do within my community for them not to shoot me. We're sitting here literally talking about how to be better obedient to these people so they won't kill us. And I think that's where the fear, is coming, man. We're listening to these false authoritative, mindsets and voices, man, and watching them kill and watching them do all the things that they, need to enforce their will on us, and we need to stop that, and nip it in the bud.
And that goes, that goes way back to what Mark is saying, like even being out there on the streets, like back in the days, and all of us was around about in these same age bracket where you got the older people coming home from prison, you got your older homies and everything coming home from prison. Now your homeboys, some of your homeboys is gone. And and the first thing out their mouth is, well, if you want to go kick it with your homie, you got to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you go do stuff so you can go be with your homeboy. So then when you get in jail, then it's mandatory. If you up underneath something and you rocking in a different little way, it's mandatory that you go to the hole, because back then that was that indeterminate shoe. And that's where you need to go get your teaching from. That's where you went to that hole and you learned Swahili. You learned how to talk different little things so that these COs did not understand what we was talking about. But now you got all those so-called tough cats, tattoos all on the faces. They going to tell the police how we talking. So that's how they infiltrate and everything else. They know everything we talking about, because these cats, that's these super gangsters, you know what I'm saying? Pants hanging down, like you said. Oh, you just, oh my, you the hardest thing moving, but you the first thing to tell. You shooting and going to tell. Oh, I just beat you. No, I told at 115. Oh, I told at 120. Yeah. So now let me get this time off. And this is what's going on. And this is what, and then you got the cats like our age that's standing out there on these blocks with these youngsters with their pants hanging down like this. Like I told a homie that I went to school with, we went to school together. I'm like, I've been knowing you almost your whole life. You ain't never been bow-legged. Why is you walking like that trying to hold your pants up? And you got a belt on. You stopping your circulation all cut off down by your thighs, man. Come on, this is embarrassing. Like real talk. Like I don't care how good your hands, if your pants down like that, a real one gonna come step right on the front of them and beat the brakes off you. And I promise you, I wish you would. Man, it's embarrassing though. It's real talk. You could just got finished taking 4-5 showers, but the way you look like you stink. That it's I mean, come on, man. Yeah, this man had it.
So yes, I'm gonna turn this just a little bit. However, this dialogue here, I'm glad that it landed here and that we ended up staying here for a moment. So now my daughter called me, Latoya. She's a part of the Concrete team. I have a 10-year-old grandson. And an 8-year-old grandson, well, 9-year-old grandson. However, she called literally while we were talking, and was because she couldn't even articulate her question in words. She said, I'm literally visually seeing what these men are talking about in my son. I'm watching. And so she was trying to put into words a question, and I just told her, get your life together, so that I can just bring you in to ask it, because it was too much. And so I need you guys to know that even though I'm going to shift us a little bit, when she taps in, we need to make space for her to be able to put out there, because this is what this space needs to be. This is what this space needs to become. To where you have, that's what anti-Black conversations is all about. It's about us being able to learn from each other, to engage in dialogue with each other, to expose some of the difficult things that are painful for us to look at, and across generations. So labels, we've talked about the labels. We've talked about, some of the triggers and the things that cause the consequences. And what it sounds like I'm hearing is that maybe that numbing, and the pain and the anger, the rage, that internal stuff, maybe it's a byproduct of, maybe we're seeing the fruit and the manifestation of it. You guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong today. In the spaces that we're in today. And it's getting worse, not better, within our own community.
One of the things that spoken word artists are able to do, in my opinion, that's different than rap artists, is we're able to tap into our vulnerabilities, our childhood traumas, our experiences, and then bring a solution. Like, we're storytellers. We're not just hype. We do ego tripping pieces to to wake up the spirit, but in overall, a spoken word artist knows that word is bond, and word is all that you have, and word is powerful. We speak into existence through our word. So one of the things that I would love to encourage our rappers and our other singers is to use this skill and technique as we did when we were in those fields, humming those hymns to keep us motivated and hope in our creator to bring this freedom, is to stop allowing these executives who allow these productions to go out to only put out our worst selves, our worst experiences in our community, so that the world's narrative is, look at them black folks, they all ghetto and ratchet, and look at them, but it's fun, it's exciting, let me come over and let me participate, and then go back to my hood and be my good self. See, we also need more of our positive and good selves to be produced and published for the world to see. And that's my call today. And I thank Marcus. He just left. I thank him. I'm no Moses, but I'm gonna use this analogy. When Moses was sent to do his job, he asked for his brother Aaron to come because he had a speech impediment. As powerful as Moses was, he still needed his brother to be able to break down his speech so that he could be understood. So when Marcus broke down my speech, for those who may not understand my speech impediment, because I may be speaking of, some say, above or whatever, I appreciate that. That is not a slight towards me. That is an improvement. That is my brother having my back. A fellow brother would give me a helping hand, right? As I know I messed it up, Black Diamond, forgive me. But in teaching our youngsters, like Latoya is asking us, we go back and say, we don't want to train or teach our youngsters to be less than who they are. We want to teach them to be empowered to be what the Creator created them to be. And so we have to be very careful and look at the filters in which we are given lessons from. See, and that is the purification process that I'm asking us to go through in this discussion.
Okay. So I need to be cognizant of what I'm listening to, what I'm hearing, what I'm allowing myself to buy into, what I'm mimicking, parroting. You know what I'm saying? All of that, and encounter that narrative with what is truth in regard to who it is that I'm actually created and called to be. I need to be able to speak that. I think that's what Daryl was helping me to understand when it came to labels, that we have bought into the labels, whether if they say thug, when I was told just recently, stop referring to us as inmates. That's a derogatory label that was put on us when we are incarcerated to demean us and to put us down. So we're formerly incarcerated people, but that term, that brand has been placed on us, and it labels us and causes society to only see us in a certain way, but you see us in the same way that you are speaking when you label us that way. I see you, Sean. Let me go ahead and acknowledge Toya. I know, look, you got a pencil or something? This is why it's a series of conversations. So I want to make space for Toya. Toya, thank you for tapping in. So come off of mute, introduce yourself, and then go ahead and put in the atmosphere what it is that led you into this space.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I need to apologize. I'm looking at my face. I'm like, can't even open my eyes all the way because Concrete Team knows mornings are not my thing at all. It's not my best self. But as I was listening, I mean, I was feeling all kind of different things. I am, as you guys know, I'm Tony's daughter. I'm her oldest daughter. I've seen the most, experienced the most with her, but I'm also a single mother to a 10-year-old son, a 10-year-old king. Hello, little beautiful. She's beautiful. To a 10-year-old king. And some of the things that you guys have been talking about I have subconsciously, said or done or thought about my son. I just, as you guys were speaking, I even thought about when's the last time I seen him cry, because there were many years, even though he's only 10, there were multiple times where he would be crying because we didn't go to the exact restaurant he thought we were going to go to. And I would be like, son, that's not a reason to cry. What I didn't realize I was doing was programming him, because I've said it so many times, that's not the point of what I'm bringing up. The point of why I wanted to come on here. The walking on the side of the street, there are things that he does innately. I never taught him. There are things he does naturally, but then I'm a single mother and I don't want him to take on the head of household, because I'm technically the head of household, yet some of the things he does is just natural. And I don't know how to balance that without parentifying him, but allowing him to come into his own. And I can't raise, I can raise him because God gave me him. However, I'm not a man, So I'm like, and I don't even know exactly the right way to ask, and maybe I'm just rambling, but I don't want him to become a statistic on my watch. And I'm trying to do all these right things. But at the end of the day, some of the things I'm hearing you guys say are natural for men. And also I was hearing Tariq say, about the honoring of the mother. And I'm often downplaying my role with him. Son, I know I'm mom, but you need to listen to this person. You need to hear from this person. You need to this. Not even realizing that I am the teacher for him, And so I don't want to be doing the wrong thing, raising a Black son, and even when you mentioned Willie Lynch, I'm like, is it time to introduce Willie Lynch at 10 years old? But then I don't want him to walk around with the chip on his shoulder like I'm a Black man and everyone's against me. And I may be saying that wrong. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry about anything. I don't know. So I'm going to stop there because my brain is racing and I got a whole lot of stuff written on this paper and I didn't go in order like I planned to do. So.
Marcus.
So, Toya, you remember when we had this conversation and you asked me, how is it that you can get your son to understand his Black friends better than the others? So when you said Willie Lynch and how you didn't know whether or not it was time to introduce it, it's the perfect time. Like if you help your son understand, if you read Willie Lynch literally from beginning to end, Willie Lynch is speaking to us and what we do and who we are today. This is how we act. We actually follow that letter to a T, whether Willie Lynch was real, whether he was a myth or not. Those words that are written within that letter, that story, whatever you want to call it, is exactly what happens within our community. The process of taking a man out the house and making his woman, dependent on the government that's surrounded by that person, man. That is one example of Willie Lynch that is adamant in our communities today. And for those who don't believe that they should be looking at and reading that, that's something that every male, female, dog, animal, whatever you want to call these people, everybody needs to check that out and understand. For us to break that cycle, everything on that paper is happening to us today. And if we don't understand and allow ourselves to really believe in that and change it, for another 400 years, man, we're going to have somebody sitting here with a dialogue of this, of this magnitude, talking about it. It won't be no action, man. History will repeat itself because we won't allow ourselves to follow exactly what we already know and understand, man. We just, as a collective community, I'm not going to say everybody, but as a collective community, there are too many contradictions to what keeps us safe. You have those who want to call the police on us within our communities in order for them to, really have some authority over us within our communities. So they use somebody else to control what they can't control themselves, man. And that's where we have to understand we're bringing those people into our communities to hurt and kill us, man. If you, like I said, what you said earlier about Willie Lynch, yes, it's time. Teach your son, let him read it, let him recite it, let him understand each and every word there, because we deal with that every day. Willie Lynch possibly, could be a main factor for people to understand why I went to prison. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of us on this panel right now that can identify to some of the stuff that's on that paper, man. We literally, by going to prison, man, we were bought and sold. It's $300, on and off that prison bus. Each time you get in on and off that bus, man, they charging, it's $427 a day to house a child within prison, man, and it's damn near almost 10 times that for an adult. So just imagine, they've been selling us forever, man. Whether it's to the prison system, whether it's to the child foster care system, whatever it is, somebody's getting paid for our body, whether it's in death or not, man. In death, we get, they charging for our skin and our insides, more than any other race, because our blood and our DNA helps heal a whole lot of people. So once we get that and understand that, man, we'll be able to, even our women, man, will understand exactly what we deal with, man. It won't be a mystery. It won't be a question to be asked. They'll see it, without even hearing it. They won't have to say, oh, he's a man, we can't understand it. Yeah, I understand exactly what that black man going through. Everything he see, I see. And that's how it should be within our communities, and we don't have that.
I want to put a 2 to a 3 minute timer now on our as we're going around in dialogue, just because I know that we're getting close, to that time period or what have you. And I've also wanted to throw out there that this is the to be continued ... conversation. Because at this point now we have Black men that are literally speaking to mothers that are raising Black sons in the community, and this is life and treasures and jewels that we are needing. So whoever was going to go next, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jack. Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, because I know you got something on.
Put yourself on mute.
Hold on, can I pause? Can I pause and say, because James and I, we could talk. Just because we have personal relationship, I wanted to see if I could hear from Sean or Black Diamond. I don't know if I can hear from them, and
we're gonna go
and then
all
hear
the way
from
around.
James. Yeah, because I want to hear it.
We're gonna go all the way around. So James and then Sean and Eric. So we're gonna go all the way around.
Put yourself on mute if you're not talking, so that the background noise can be shut down. Please.
I'll take care of it.
Yeah, I was gonna be brief anyway, since we already talked like that. But like I was saying, you my little sis. So it's like I told you before, and I'm gonna reiterate that and tell you again. Do not second guess yourself with what you're doing as raising that young man, because like I told you before, I'm proud of you, and you're doing a great job. The thing is, like I was saying, things that he's doing, which you have recognized, it just happens. That's just like when you became a mom. It wasn't about a book that you read or what this, that, and other. Everything kicked in full go once that child got here. You didn't have to learn about being a mother. It was just automatically, it was going to kick in. So the things he's doing, which you not knowing, like we always say, kids are always watching. He has watched some man switch sides. Just by him seeing that, he knew that he's supposed to walk on that side. He didn't have to tell you that. Wow. He just went in and did it. That was not something that it just came over. He has actually, like how they speaking on the lady walking behind the man, the same thing. He has watched and seen, so he's emulating that. He knew that was the right thing to do. Even as a kid, he put his life on the line for his mom. And that's what it is. So don't second guess yourself or look at what another mother is doing with her child to do that, because every child is different. Just like siblings, your sisters and all that stuff, every one of them has to be nurtured a different way. I had to learn that as being a dad and all that stuff too, where you cater this way to this child, this one, you can't do this, you can't yell at this one because it's going to break him down. There is characteristics. So let him teach you by not saying a word, because the loudest thing said is the word unsaid. So watch, and he's speaking. And I'm going to leave it. I'm going to pass it on.
Okay, so there's a couple of things. I'm going to go, I'm not going to go in no order. So one of the things is, Marcus was touching on. I'm going to start with that. We were talking about this Willie Lynch, right? This Willie Lynch is critical and crucial, right? There are so many ways. Here's one of the small ways that it affects. One of the things that Willie Lynch taught was for the light skin to hate dark skin, right? For the strong to oppress the weak. For the good hair to go against the bad hair, right? These are the small things. And these are things we see, we see every single day. Oh, light skin block. Oh, dark skin block, you know what I mean? Black of the bear, sweet, all these different things, right? So, like he was talking about, it's never, ever too late. No, too early to address this Willie Lynch syndrome. This is to be addressed now. It's just how you feed it to him, because he's still a young man. So it's how you feed him these concepts, right? But he has to be fed he has to get it. By a perfect example, I just told my G baby last night, she's gonna turn 13. I said, once you turn 13, our relationship changes. Now I begin to teach, right? So up until now, my thing has been, they be like, Baba, I don't want to learn a lesson right now. It ends now at 13, right? So at this case, now talking about a young man, now jumping in on what James was talking about, the way he's acting is innate. That's his man's nature. That's his man's nature taking effect. But what happens is society, and oftentimes women beat it down, and then men don't understand it, so they don't even enforce it, right? So what has to happen is, as you're doing what you're doing, you reinforce it with your team right here. You have a team. You just expose it that you got strong brothers in your ear. Strong brothers in your ear. And then I seen you as a chick. I heard both of them say sister, right? So this is my little sister. And I'm going to add myself to this cycle, and I'm going to say, I'm your uncle, right? So now you have a cycle of men. Or let me rephrase it, not just men. You have a cycle of the black man return.
Kings and priests.
Kings and priests. As my wife say, priest, protector, and provider, right? So we have now the return of the black man. We had to go someplace else to get it. But we're here. And with sisters such as yourself, when you have these things and you have this these brothers here for you, go get them. If you got to call moms, or you got to call each one, we got to FaceTime or whatever, this what's going on. How do we get it? Right? If you have to say, hey, I need y'all to pull up. However we have to do it, we pull it up. We pull it up, right? And the thing is that people think we got to just teach them. We ain't got this. This is the last thing we got to teach a young black boy. It's the last thing, right? This mind and this heart, because this is natural in him. It just has to be brought out. And then when you got people that got it natural, but like James said, they didn't teach him how to get it. It wasn't no man taught him how to get it. He just got it. So now tap into your sources, sister or niece. Tap into them, right? When you have those questions, and like he said also, don't second guess yourself. Do not second guess yourself, right? What you can do is seek for enforcement of what you're already pushing, or reinforcement of what you're pushing. But don't second guess it, because we're not trying to recreate, we're trying to bring something new forth out of all the things that we learned. And he is our future. He is our star. Okay.
Sean, I'm gonna share her as your niece. I'm gonna let you have that too, because you know that's my niece. I'm territorial, so I just have to put it out there. I said sister just because of the blackness, but that's my niece. So
okay,
you all right?
Okay, well, let me say this then. You my brother.
Off top.
You my brother, so that's our niece. All right.
Hey.
I really want to say something about how I'm territorial too. That's my sister. Y'all tripping.
Hey, well, I'm gonna say, okay, nephew, let's get it together.
Off top, nephew.
And I'm going to chime in by saying that I'm strictly spiritual, so she's my soul sister, which I connect from the soul. You know, this flesh is temporary and it could be assigned to anybody, right? But my soul is mine that the Creator gave me to God. So soul sisters and brothers is what I call all of y'all. But I wanted to start off with saying that it's the return of the man. And the reason why I don't put black or brown or white or African or European is because the man in this country has been suppressed so much and told to become such beast-like that now that we are coming out of prison as men, and this return encompassed all men that was coming out of prison, because involuntary servitude locked up all people.
True.
See, slavery locked up the blood of the African, but the involuntary servitude locked up all people. See, and so that European man who thought he had a privilege, that privilege didn't stop his ass from getting locked up. But I'm gonna stop there. Next is your birth certificate. If you look at your birth certificate, it is on a bank note. Somebody's already invested in your child. Is it you, or are you gonna let the incarceration system?
Can you not stop?
That's crazy.
For a minute, please, because you just triggered the hell out of me.
Somebody got music in the background.
That's me. I'm sorry.
So stop. You stop. Say what you said again so that I can hear it, because the noise is so loud. My feelings got triggered when you said it. I got angry. Shoot.
All of you guys, go look at your birth certificate and look on the rim of it. It will say it is a bank note. Your identity, your social security number, your name, your person, your body has been property ever since the United States of America has been created. This is a bank. That's why it's hard to call it a nation and a country. We use those terms, but it actually is designed to be the European banking system when it was developed. What we have today as the United States was supposed to be the United Europe. Every country in Europe was supposed to have something over here to reap the resources of this new land, as it did Africa when they colonized Africa. Now, moving forward, your child is an investment.
Go ahead.
I'm asking him to be an investment in our community. And the way that we do that, because I'm gonna take you back when I was 9 and 10 years old. I'm not gonna speak as a 50-year-old man. I'm gonna take you back when I was 9. So my mother handed me over to the school system of a predominantly European wealthy school district. And when I first saw these people and what they had, I was like, oh, I'm white. I want to be white. I want to have $1 million while I'm 25. I want to have this, that, and the other. I wanted to have a blue-eyed, blonde, fine-ass chick on my arm. I wanted all that I saw. And I was going to outcompete them to have it. So your child is already determining right now what he's going to be at 25. He doesn't even realize it, or maybe he does. So you have to now guide that interpretation of life. You have to be an instrumental filter for him to understand what he sees. And it's not to make him meek and punked and weak in front of anybody else, but how to manage his emotion. See, if you teach him how to breathe, how to make his breath one with his mind and body, you will give him the discipline that he will need to manage his emotion. I have a 13-year-old that I'm teaching right now. Her name is Violet. I'm teaching her martial arts, and the first thing I teach her is how to breathe and control her mind so that her body will follow naturally. And this is what we teach. And so I ask you, what books are you reading to him? J.A. Rogers, Sex and Race? Are you reading him Golden Age of the Moors to let him know that we ruled this earth for almost 900 years and that Jewish history is at its height under Islamic rule. European had its reintroduction into the world out of dark ages under that rule. So we have to start reading him books. The autobiography of Malcolm X was the first book I read when I stopped reading in 9th grade when I decided to become white. And that's when I became knowledge of self and how to make this transition into a community activist, right? So we have to start feeding him slowly but surely the knowledge that was written by us for us to empower us. And he will tell you when he's had enough. He will tell you when he needs more. King Tut started ruling at 9. It is not too early to be a king. It is not too early to take his place in his purpose in life. You just have to bring it out of him. You have to look at him, discern what's going on, because at 140 days in the womb, we were given our name, our disposition, and our destiny in life by the Creator. So it was already in your womb to teach him what he's going to be.
Pause. Toya, you taking notes frantically. I see you. And so, just where you at?
I'm taking notes because I don't want to lose it. I don't think opportunities like this, I'm not afforded opportunities like this all the time. Even though I have strong men around me, I'm not always at the feet of them to glean, and so I wanted to make sure that I don't lose things. So that's why I took the note. I don't have much else to say, but I did want to acknowledge one thing. I watched the conversation last time with the men, and I, was one of them. I had stuff to say because Mr. Tariq, I didn't know. I was like, who is this crazy man? That's what I was thinking in my head. And I'm not shy about what I have to say. My mother, the queen, this woman is a boss, bad, everything, all the above. So one thing she never taught us, and this is something I share with her, I never saw her speaking ill of herself when I was a child. And she always, even in the midst of all the stuff she went through, she always had this thing where she walked, her crown didn't fall when she was walking, so that is something I picked up, which means her kids are a little extra vocal. Sometimes we say things, but the reason why I wanted to acknowledge you is because from one conversation to another, you have taught me so much. I, as a woman, oftentimes write off Black men when I see any kind of weakness or something that may seem as a flaw to me or whatever. And I know that has a lot to do with conditioning from like the Western civilization, stuff like that. I'm sure it's super deep. I haven't dug into it, but the power in what I've seen from that conversation to now, I don't know what all has transpired in between, but wow, wow, you're somebody I want to get to know more and hear from, like the managing of emotions, the control, the wisdom, all of that stuff. Last conversation I was listening to, I was like, I don't know if I never want to hear anything from him. I'm just telling you all these thoughts. I was like, he don't want to hear from nobody else. He don't care about nobody else. He's a monster. Like, I'm thinking all these things, and it was so far from the truth. But seeing from this conversation, seeing a different aspect of you in this conversation is just showing me how powerful our men are. We need to be able to see them in all aspects. In this conversation, your voice started rising a little bit. You were talking about something else, and I thought, oh no. And then I had to say, why am I afraid of his voice rising? That's just a sign of passion. He's just expressing himself. But I had to play, all kind of stuff in my head. And now I'm thinking about, even with teaching my son, he's going to have a whole plethora of emotions, a whole plethora of sides to him, a whole plethora of thoughts. He going to make a mistake with one person. Is that person going to write him off? He going to do this with this person. Is somebody else going to say he's less than or unworthy? All of that stuff. So I didn't realize even how if I was so quick to write you off in my mind, like, I don't want to never hear from him, how am I doing that to my son? Am I doing that to other kings? Am I doing that? You know, so there's just so much. I want to acknowledge that I see you, that Sawabona thing my mom says. Like, I see you, I honor you, I reverence you, I appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you guys. And you guys don't have that much time on this call, so I'm going to leave. But I have so many notes.
No, you might as well write it out. Like I said, this is it's not so. Today's conversation isn't going to end in its traditional way. It's going to be a ... And with that being said, I'm not going to try to wrap it up. I just want to make sure we know this is going to be a to be continued ... conversation. Yes, sir. I'm coming to you, Latoya. The things that you said, I'm telling you now. First of all, I want to tell you as a queen to her daughter in this space, and I honor and respect and reverence and lift up my treasures, my stars, my jewels all the time. But when you and when you speak life into me, it is like watering soil. It literally feeds my soul, and I receive what you said, and I thank you for that. It goes deep for me. And so I thank you for that. The other thing I wanted to say is that I appreciate and respect your doubling back and even giving and even acknowledging Tariq, because when you said that you couldn't identify what was taking place, I too, I was triggered. Women now, and I can't speak for all women, but what I can say is that in the mass exodus and the snatching away of the men from our lives and our community, and I'm trying not to get emotional in saying it, it created so much. It's created so many breaches and barriers and cracks and crevices. So I too am deeply triggered by anything that looks like conflict, anything that looks like confrontation, anything. When I get passionate, I'm labeled. People say, because I get loud when I get passionate. So as a Black woman, in the absence of my king, I have conditioned and trained myself when showing up in white spaces or white supremacist spaces to downplay my authority, downplay who I am. I shift and all of that different stuff. That's another conversation. However, I can only imagine what the Black man has had to do. And because I haven't been around the Black men, our kings and priests, they're coming back. But because they've been absent, we don't even know. We've been dealing with our sons. We've been dealing with something that is different. And so when a Tariq and a Sean and a Daryl, I'll never forget. I was like, Daryl, I don't know. It was something, and it triggered me. And he was like, well, what about it bothered you? And I was like, well, shoot. When he asked the question, my emotions rose to the surface, and I squashed them because I didn't even want to address the fact. I didn't even want to talk about it because there hasn't been a space created yet for women to be able to talk about what it has been like for us in your absence. There hasn't been that space yet created for that. So this is uncovering and unfolding a lot, and I appreciate that of it too. Sean,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Forgive me, Sean. Tariq, did you want to respond to Latoya any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, just to say, I've recognized that I was triggered too in that conversation. I had a long talk with people in that space to be able to identify what that trigger was and to ask them not to do that again. And as well that I will not do what I did again, that I am responsible for managing my emotions. And I didn't do a great job at doing that in that episode. And so it did look bad, but I want to say that I am 100% for my people. And whenever I sense or detect that something is given to them that is not good, I will stand in front of that woman and walk on that sidewalk on either the traffic side or in front and make sure that I take that blow. So I thank you for saying what you said, and I appreciate that. And as a pledge to myself and to you and to this space, I acknowledge, like I said, one leadership. The leadership is Tony in this space, and I'm gonna listen. You know, even if I don't like it, I'm gonna listen, and I'm gonna respect that. So we had that talk, and I appreciate that, and thank you for that. Truly.
Sean?
You see me trying to hold it together, right?
Yes, what, Sean?
Hey, you know, here typing stuff and all kind of stuff. Hey, but I want to start with one of the things that the brother and I also discussed is that when we have to be conscious in these spaces, right? When we do have disagreements, historically, we have been used to cut each other down, to keep each other separated. Historically, right? The analogy that I use often, and I encourage anybody who's listening to this to pay attention to this, W.B. Du Bois, or Du Bois, however you say his name, and Marcus Garvey.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to those two of our great leaders of that time, and they went at each other about attempting to do the same thing in different methods, right? More common than people are aware of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And one of the things that happened at the end, they started coming towards the middle, or they had to get rid of both of them. That's just my opinion, right? But I want to say, and I want to encourage that anytime we are in a space, man or woman, and we see it, it's our duty, our responsibility to eliminate it. Now, after we come out this space, if you got to cuss each other out, do what you got to do, that's what you do. Malcolm taught us, don't air your dirty laundry. This weakens us. This weakens our stance. I just wanted to say that. The next thing I want to tell you, I want to go back to labels, right? And in this case, ooh, that threw me off. Okay, back to labels. Oh, there we go. Black Moon. I ams. Yeah, you see, yeah, yes. Oh, so Latoya, she told you about the I ams? Okay. Okay.
No, I speak I am. So I
No, you
go
don't.
ahead.
Excuse me. I was supposed to do that on camera. You just, that excited me, right? Oh, she got him there. Oh, hold on. Now I'm just gonna give you an example. Right? Tariq, you going on the spot. But after Black Moon, Tariq, you going on the spot. Black Moon, you got your 5? No. No, I seen you grab your book. I seen you grab your book. I saw you grab your book. All right. Okay, so I ams, right? We talk about labels. In Man Up and Woman Up, one of the things we do to eliminate these labels is we say what we believe we are. Listen to the language. We say what we believe we are. And the things that we believe we are, when we say them, most people call you full of shit, arrogant, or just out of pocket when you say what you really believe you are, right? These are the I ams, and these are the labels that we wear, that we're supposed to wear, the things that we believe we are. That makes sense? Tariq, shoot. Give me a couple of them.
It's been a while, but I am descended from the Most High, transmitted through the loins of the first man to receive by my father. I am the offspring of the paradise of Nettie Felicia Harris. I am my brother's keeper. I am the defender of my people. I am the bright piercing star that guides out of darkness into the light. I am soul brother number 9, truly perfected in the mind. I just stop right there for now.
So this is what we espouse. This is what we live. This is what we push. And what happens is in that space on dealing with I ams, what you believe you are, there's a power that comes out of you. And the people that are tapped into that same energy, there's a power that goes in them and they shoot it back out. They shoot it back out. These I ams are the labels, right? But now what we do is, like we talked about, Sister Tony, when we talked about my 3 things, or I say often, never allow anyone to place you inside of their box. Never allow anyone to place you inside of their box. Never allow anyone to place you inside of their box, including yourself. Yes, sir, I'm done.
Marcus?
So before all this is over, and while we still talking about Miss Tony and Toya, I told both of y'all, man, I ain't never met a mother and a daughter in my life that has the relationship that you guys got. Like, learning from both of you in the same space is awesome as hell. Like, I like listening to you. I love the interaction. You know, you learn a whole lot from 2 women who, you know, I don't know personally, but from hearing from their own voice and their own throat, you know, have been through so much so much, you know, on this planet, man. And you know, both of y'all know I love you to death, man. And I appreciate you, you know, to the moon and back for allowing me to be a part of this conversation. And what Toya said is true. You know, you are, and I think you said it yourself when we was on a Zoom previously, you know, most times you're the only Black woman in the room when we have these spaces on this, you know, since we've been doing, you know, COVID stuff, all this virtual nonsense. You know, you're the only Black woman that I usually see in that room, you know, and having you in a space, like I told you previously, I always want you in my space because I know you're writing notes, you're taking notes, you're going to give us what we're giving to everybody else, but towards ourselves, you know, and that's why I love you to death, because you know, unapologetically, you give me, you know, an opportunity to correct myself through the words that you speak. So, you know, I just wanted to leave you with that and you know, let you know, man, I actually understand you, you know, a lot more than most. I know y'all hear these drums. That's the, you know, my youngsters out here. They out here doing their little young Samoras. I might could show y'all, but my camera won't turn around. But I love y'all, man, and being able to know that I'm close to this conversation is probably, you know, the best healing process I get to go through out here. But what I really wanted to ask is, you know, after every space we in, there's a poem that you read, and it ends with, "I have nothing to lose but my chains." And I love that to death, and I hope that before we get here, that you would actually speak that, so those watching could actually hear those words and understand how I feel when you speak.
Okay, I will do that. Okay, so we need to wrap up. We are at time. This was like, yeah. I am full. I am full. And so yes. But let me see. I am a lioness. I'm learning. I am balanced. I am a seer. I am the organizer of organizers, a prophet to the prophets. Yes, I am Black Moon. Yes. I am the daughter of the Most High, Abba Father. I am Daddy's girl. I am spoiled, rotten, rightly so. I am Queen Elder. So it is our duty to fight for our freedom. Yes. That's the one, right?
The best way I can say it is what Tariq says.
So look, I can't even forget. I can't believe why it escaped me, because it is my. I lead people in it all the time. So it's a repeat after it's a repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and respect one another.
We must love and
We
respect.
must
We
love.
must love and
We have
respect
nothing
one
to
another.
lose but our chains.
We have nothing.
We have nothing to lose
We have
but our
nothing to
chains.
lose but
I'm
our
gonna say it
chains.
one more time. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty.
It is our duty to fight for our
It is
freedom.
our duty to win.
It is our
It is our duty to win.
We must love and protect one another.
right.
We
We
must
must love and
We must
protect one
love and
another.
protect
We have
one another.
nothing to lose but our chains.
We have
We have nothing to
We have
lose but our
nothing to lose.
chains. Amen.
So I want to
Say.
make sure that you all know tomorrow evening at 3 p.m. I will be having the honor, oh God, I'm trying not to cry, of sharing space with 3 amazing women who were formerly incarcerated. I wanted to create space for those diamonds in the rough. These diamonds are amazing, and they're going to share their story, and they're going to share their wisdom, and drop a lot on us. And then we're going to take a break through the holidays. And when we come back, first Saturday in January, um, we will pick up where we're leaving off, and there will be a bigger crowd, of course, of us, because what we're doing is layering in, layering in, layering in. And so we're going to bring everybody in together the first Saturday in January. And pick up where we're leaving off on exposing the prison industrial complex. And so I'm changing it from exposing to disrupting. We're going to disrupt and dismantle the prison industrial complex. Brick by
Yes.
brick, one person at a time. We're saving lives.
Hmm.
All right. So love y'all. And we'll tap back in with you guys soon. If y'all can wave, I'm gonna end our broadcast.
Nice, yeah. Absolutely.